You've tuned into Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. Bombshell news: Facebook drops a bombshell and says most of its 2 billion users may have had their personal data compromised. Now, when they start talking numbers like this, you know everybody was affected. And we were saying this from the get-go. You know, if Cambridge Analytica was able to access that much information, you know, they were just giving it to everybody with apps, you know, pay to play. And everybody was getting hacked by Facebook. And we saw more of this in the, how shall we say, the Hillary Clinton app, where, you know, people were getting it from the App Store or from the Android store. And it would link all of your contacts on your phone to your Facebook friends so that they would have like all of their information. I mean, it was like a virus. That's what Facebook has become. It's become a virus, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, at first it started with 50 million. And then today, you know, early on today, it was like 83 million. And then the chief security officer for Facebook actually put out a statement saying that, well, it looks like everybody's information could have been compromised. And they're saying could have been because they don't want to piss everybody off. They're just going to let you figure it out. And some of the sheeple won't figure it out. You know, some of the sheeple will be like, well, hopefully that wasn't me. And, you know, some people might not think it's a big deal, but, you know, it's worth money. They were stealing it from you. And this is how they made their billions, is selling your private information. And some people think that their private information is priceless. You know, not everybody does, but some people do. And so for all the people that feel that their information is priceless, I mean, this is a huge thing. And there's class action lawsuit after class action lawsuit from investors to users to business partners. So, you know, this is going to have huge ramifications. Today, Zuckerberg made a statement, is like, we make mistakes, but who better to lead the company than me? Now, when you start hitting the credibility of the CEO like that, it's time to go. You know, it's like, no, it's not. There's probably a million people that are better to run the company than him. And he doesn't even run his company anymore. I think most people are aware of that. He's just basically walking around with his pooch, picking up dog shit and surfing in Hawaii. That's pretty much the lowdown on Zuckerberg these days. And if he's not doing that, then he's busy kicking people, you know, off the land in his near his compound. He doesn't want a wall for America, but he's built a 10-foot wall for himself. That's the typical hypocrite for you, ladies and gentlemen. Typical hypocrite. Nobody's surprised by this, right? You're not surprised by these revelations. We were talking to you about this a couple weeks ago. And it's only going to now start to evolve into exactly what we said. It's just a matter of time. It's inevitable. You can see the tidal wave begin. It's a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe. And poor Zuckerberg, the Punisher that's been putting everybody in prison, stealing all their data, well, he's going to have to resign, and everybody's going to feel super sorry for him. You know, we'll all send him a nice little fucking get well card. You know, get well card with all the billions you made stealing our fucking private information. Now, I do apologize for the language. I know good people out there don't like the strong language, and I fully appreciate that. And we're usually not the vulgar type, but when it comes to stuff like this, everything that we've been seeing, everything that we cover on this broadcast, it's hard not to let it out sometimes. You know, and I think we're all adults here. And, you know, if it was still the Leave It to Beaver days, you could wash my mouth out with soap. But I'm telling you, the F-bomb these days is probably the least of our worries. So I appreciate the thought out there. I know everybody's thinking it. Did he just drop? Yes, we dropped the F-bomb. Folks, they've been stealing all of our information. And that's just the tip of the Zuckerberg. That's just the tip of the Zuckerberg. Because behind the scenes, it's probably like the movie Terminator Genesis. You know, where the androids are safeguarding the Cyberdyne, the Skynet, and all of that stuff so that it can come online. Now, there's a huge petition going around from Google employees themselves to the Google CEO saying, we don't want Google plugging into to the Pentagon. We don't want the AI running the drones and all of the other, you know, Terminators out there. This is, you can find links to that and many other stories on the STFN report. That's stfnreport.com. Check that out, bookmark it. You never know when these pages can go dark on social media. It happens at the flick of a switch, and you'll never get the notifications. And if you don't know how to look us up, well, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to NBC? You're going to go back to CNN for real? With all the shows that we got coming out and stuff, you're going to want to tune in. You better bookmark stfnreport.com. New publication every day. But ladies and gentlemen, what's going on here behind the scenes is beyond imagination. It is beyond imagination. We're not going to get into what we know and what we don't know. But let's just say that none of us know a whole lot about what's going on in the world around us. The universe is so huge, so large. Things have been going on for quite some time. We're all born into this matrix, just like everybody else before us. And it's kind of like, when you're growing up, you turn on the light switch and you don't even think about how the light bulb works or where the electricity comes from or anything behind it. And I think that's basically the naivete that we live in right now, is that we think we know what's going on, but truly we don't. And we've talked about this in previous broadcasts, but undoubtedly it looks like there's something else going on. They live, who knows what it is. Maybe something like Blade Runner. You got a bunch of clones and synthetics running around. You've thought about it. You've thought about if you live in the Matrix or not. Don't say you haven't. So, this is in the realms of possibilities. Nobody knows what's going on in the world around us. And we've shown you example after example. Our problem here, folks, is that we're ahead of the curve. I'll be honest with you. When we start breaking the stories based on what's going on, people are like, oh, it can't be. It's that cognitive dissonance. Like when you first heard 9/11 was an inside job, you're like, no. And then just with a little bit of time, it's like, ho is right. Ho. This dark side is the gift that keeps on giving, ladies and gentlemen. We've covered this before, we'll cover it again, but right now we're celebrating Zuckerberg for prison. What do you guys think about that? Zuckerberg for prison? Can we make it happen? I bet we could. He's suspected of multiple crimes, not only, breaching, privacy laws, but looks like there was some insider trading. Looks like he's been unloading quite a bit of stocks lately. And he's known that this stuff was happening for at least since 2016, if not before, because they were handing over information to the Obama administration as early as 2012. And we've shown you the videos, right, where they're basically like in love together, holding hands, staring deeply into each other's eyes. It was rather disturbing. Let's see if we can, if you slow this down, it's even worse. You get the little micro expressions. You can just tell, there's some infatuation going on. There's some, after hours work going on. That's what it looks like to me. What do you guys think? You've heard the stories about the gay bathhouses in Chicago. Look at the way they're looking at each other. Have you listened to Zuckerberg speak? He's like, yes, we're going to send our AIs against all of those undesirable accounts and call them bots and just get rid of them. It's just total San Francisco. San Francisco, hello. That's what it sounds like over there. So this stuff must be going on. Remember when the White House looked like the gay pride parade? Remember that? It was like the whole thing was a rainbow. The whole thing was a rainbow. What do you think's going on over there? They might as well have, hung up the rainbow flag the whole time they were out there. Would have been a little more honest, but you can't expect a whole lot of honesty from these people. We're going to be bringing in the all-star crew for commentary on this, the current situation. You're live. You're live, fuckers.
Yeah!
You're live.
Oh, he broke in.
Oh, it looks
he
like
broke in.
I broke into the green room. So I hope
Zuckerberg for prison, bitches. Zuckerberg for prison.
that's what we're saying, man. How many of you have been to prison?
Make it happen.
How many of you have been to prison over Zuckerberg? Anybody? Don't
Not
tell us,
me.
Sunshine. Sunshine, you're not helping.
Man.
Huh?
Well, I was just saying how I'm glad I plead the blood of Christ over everything I do, and I figure that's the main reason why I haven't, but I'm just knocking on wood, too, and continuing to pray.
Well,
because with how much I share this stuff.
Exactly. We were just going to say, the longer you stick around, the more likely you are to suffer some of the censorship like everybody else.
It'll happen.
Oh, it will happen. I mean, just about everybody's being shadow banned. I mean, you look at your friends list, you got what, 500 people, 1,000 people, maybe 5,000 people, and then you go share something meaningful, and it's like one like. And it's just, we got 750,000 people on this page. Now, mind you, this is a group effort. All the people that have ever, liked and shared an STFN video made this happen. But out of the 750,000 subscribers that are out there, when we'll share an article, that's outside of Facebook, it's like 2 views, 1 share. It's just like censorship. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the big breaking news. Every Facebook account has been affected by the data breach. This is coming out now. Now, you probably heard the update earlier today where it was like 800 million. 80 million affected by just Cambridge Analytica application, just one application. Here we're talking about
Crazy.
All of the apps affecting all of the users. Everybody's information has been compromised, and it looks like Zuckerberg is going to step down. Now, this is insider information. Don't expect them to be announcing this just yet, because there's triggers in place for his immediate ouster, which is the stock price going south of 135, and it's teetering right at the support of 150. So it's 2 or 3 weeks away. It's coming. So just keep pushing it, fuckers. It's coming. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
We can taste it.
It's on the way.
We know it's coming. So keep pushing it. Keep raising awareness. Keep making noise. Now, who's on point? Who wants to take over and dominate this broadcast? I want to listen to you guys. I want to know what's going on. Who's going to dominate or who's going to get gonged? Volunteers, please.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg. And
Yes.
folks, we're talking about Cambridge Analytics and what Cambridge Analytics actually does. Well, just within 100 likes, forget about all the data and the phone calls and the violation of privacy and stealing all your contacts, right down to your children and their friends, because they're hooked up to Facebook. Well, this Cambridge Analytics claims to know them better than your significant other or your children, because they're claiming now that the personality profile that they have built using this data grab, using Cambridge Analytics, they know your kids better than you. And folks, that is where we have to draw the line. And what Zuckerberg is involved in, we should know every pedophile that exists right now through this data grab. If this data was actually being used for something positive, it was actually being used for our benefit, we would probably cheer it on, but it's not. And what is it being used for? What are they doing with this information? Where is this information going? Who is it being shared with? Is this being shared with foreign powers? Is this being shared with who? Is this just his own private little collection? Where is this stuff going? That's what bothers me. I would like to know, where is this information being stored?
Well, the AI that he's working with is connected to the Pentagon, so who knows what they're actually doing with it. That's really the big question. But I think what we really need to touch on is the fact that 2 billion users, everybody who's on Facebook, has been affected by this. Even if you didn't download the Messenger app, even if you knew what was going on and you decided that you weren't going to do that, even if you didn't do that and your friends did, you are affected by it. So the ultimate thing is that they're still making money off of your data to this day, right now, this very second.
And we've seen already an idea of a reimbursement for taking this data. But does that mean that now we've sold it to them? Are we going to accept a payoff?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're not going to give anybody any money for it. That's fucking wishful thinking, man. 100%. There's no way. There's no way they're going to give anybody a dime for their data. No way.
When they do that, it's putting the suggestion out there that here will pay you off. And if you accept payment, then you're in agreement with them buying your information. And I think, like Danny was saying, or Jada, if your friends don't even use Facebook, but they were on your telephone, they have their information. They have their information. I mean, this is privacy breach beyond privacy breach of 2 billion, as was being stressed here. 2 billion people, and that kind of tops the chart of human trafficking, in my opinion.
I think that the idea of how many telemarketer phone calls I get on a daily basis that I totally just ignore, all of these weird, strange numbers, people that I don't know calling me, and, oh, you want a free trip, or, you know,
I love those people.
Yeah, whatever stupid crap they want to pull on us. This actually, I feel like, is tied into that, because they're selling everything that we have, every personal piece of information, to whoever wants to buy it, and probably over and over again, because they think that they own it. Because a lot of us, when we first signed up for this, how many of us actually read those terms and conditions? Not until somebody actually points them out that there's something fishy going on, right? Well, like, I told people about it and they're like, oh, whatever, you know, it's just what it is. And then, like, here just this past week, they're calling me and saying, yeah, I don't know, it kind of creeps me out now. I'm thinking about erasing my Facebook. I'm like, well, kind of too late, because they know you better than you do. They're actually, like, reading your thoughts. That's what a lot of these programs have actually come out and said.
Yeah, and I mean, especially even with, like, the whole going live thing and all these other predictability AIs that they use, you know, in conjunction with Google to be able to predict, you know, what store you're going to go to for dinner that night based on, you know, your patterns from your previous shopping and all that. All that information, you know, this came out fucking 10 years ago, but nobody was paying, there wasn't very many people paying attention. But the FBI actually said openly that Facebook was the greatest tool for finding people that were wanted, that was ever given to them, because people just offer up their information on there with no thought of consequence of how the information is going to be used or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, I see it all the time with hunting these pedophiles online, right? It's really easy to be able to track down where they are. Sometimes it's even faster to track down where they are to get them arrested than it is to go through all the court system and all the warrants and all of that. There's been tons of times where, you know, an officer has been like, oh, we need to find this person. And I go, okay, well, let me find them, because it's going to take you guys 6 months to track them down when it'll take me, you know, 20 minutes of being online to do it. So, you know, it's one of those things that people give up their information without really paying attention, or maybe they just don't care how it's going to be used. But then as soon as something comes out like this, everybody acts all surprised. Nobody should be fucking surprised that they're taking your information. This is not, you know, anything new. This has been going on for a long time. I mean, even look at Zuck during his apology fucking interview, right? Did he look like he was surprised that this was happening? Not a chance, because everybody knew this was going on. It's just nobody said anything about it or anything like that until this whole Cambridge thing came out. Now it's like, you know, the mass media is sort of giving off this impression that, okay, now it's acceptable to be upset about this. So, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science rocket scientists to figure out that they're taking your information. This is something that's been going on for a really long time. And are they going to reimburse people with cash? Fuck no. Nobody's going to get any money. Maybe a couple of billionaires. That's
like
it.
2 cents per person? Because you're talking 2 billion people. You know, he says 87 million was the number earlier, right? But it's come out now that every single person that is on Facebook, that's ridiculous. And I think that number is actually up to 3 billion, isn't it? Isn't that the number that how many people are on Facebook now?
I'm not exactly sure.
Well, then we all get shared. I mean, for the listeners, you want to try something spooky. Start talking about power drills in front of your mic or in front of your telephone. Talk power drill. Man, I got me a power drill. Look at these power drills. Watch the power drill commercials and advertisements start coming at you because these people are on fire. And really, I would think maybe not cash because there really is no cash. We're all on the fiat perpetual debt clock. And what we ought to look at is everyone owning shares. That way people can come back in and there can be a whole new manner of doing this that everyone can profit off. Because Facebook, if you really look at it, it's bigger than all of the mainstream medias in the world. If you put every news on BBC and CNN and ABC and all of them, Facebook is still bigger.
Yeah, and they actually supply more internet to people than anybody else in the world. There's entire countries overseas that their entire internet system is owned and run by Facebook satellites, by Facebook towers. You know, and I just want to put this into perspective for people because I don't think everybody really grasps how much a billion is when we're talking about people. And I like to relate it to numbers as far as days go. So if you look at 1 million people, right? 1 million people is quite a bit, right? So say 1 million people is 1 hour. Okay, to put it in perspective of how much more a billion is than 1 million. So 1 million people is equivalent to 1 hour. 1 billion people is equivalent to 10 years. So that's a huge increase. It's unfathomable. I mean, a lot of billionaires don't even know how much money they actually have because once you reach that $1 billion mark, it gets very hard to even count or track. So that, you know, when we're talking about 50 million people that had their data breached compared to 2 billion of what it is now, that is a gigantic, like you can't even wrap your mind around how much more of an increase that is. So I just wanted to put that into perspective for people so that people can understand how breaking this news is because the difference in those numbers. And I mean, nobody's going to see any money from this. It's not going to happen. And we're not going to get any shares in the company or anything like that. You start handing out shares to people left, right, and center, what's going to happen to your stock? It's just going to plummet. Because everybody's going to be like, oh, well, why the fuck are we spending our money investing in this company when they're just handing it all out for free? Because they stole everybody's information. You know what I mean? So
it's 2.2 billion, just for the record. I looked it up.
You know, here's something I'd like to interject to all of this that I was thinking about. You know, how easy it was, not just for like those people to take the data, but for like bad actors who were able to look up your information just like through the search feature, you know, like your birthday, your gender, your hometown and whatnot. And then all like the identity theft and credit card theft and stuff like that to use your information in nefarious ways. That's another way that, you know, you're losing money out on that and destroying people's credit at the same time. And then also how does it affect children? Because when they can look up and see if the parents aren't home, it makes for an easy target to go take people's children while they're away at work. Like this has a lot more far-reaching implications than just the data. You know, this reaches right out into your real life and affects, you know, financially as well as your children's lives. Like this is a very nefarious thing that's going on here with Facebook breaking into our lives like this.
You know, and Zuckerberg, he wants to say that it's done by third-party scrappers. he's not making any money off of this. Like, it just happened by accident. And in this article, it asks him at the end if he still thinks that he's the best person to run the company, and he says yes. Dude, he needs to be done. We need to, when he goes in front of Congress, is it next week he goes in front of Congress?
He goes on the 11th at 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, let's see how much truthful information he actually divulges. You can bet your ass he'll be tiptoeing around the questions there. And, you know, I think, like, one of the most important questions to ask would be, like, how was it used against us? How much extra money did Facebook make because they were allowing this type of stuff? You know, how much money did Facebook actually personally make? Like, we should be able to get some of that money, but like Brendan's saying, they're not going to give us any of it. Like, they made billions of dollars off of this stuff. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
The thing is, too.
Go ahead. I was gonna say his house is with the property that his house is on in Hawaii, 500 football fields big. That is obscene. That's where all of our data went, into his pocket. And he wants to act like this was some sort of accident done by third-party scrappers. It's a bunch of crap. He's a liar and a hypocrite. He goes against, you know, anybody who supports the wall being built at the border down in Mexico, but he's going to build a 10-foot wall around his property. And not to mention, some of that property is stolen, straight up just taken.
Right. Yeah, there was a path that the natives used to take there to the island to go down to the ocean, and he blocked them from doing that. What a dickhead.
Look, everyone that's been breached, everyone that's on Facebook being honest about who they are, and I'm gonna include that legal name, like I need your ID. And what the listeners need to realize is that they're giving him access to what's called the TDA, or trust accounts, the estate. There are not just one account. There are triplicates, quadruplets, and that are tied to all these certain requirements that we're forced to cooperate with, like the birth certificate, Social Security, and these things. But if he's being given access to these trust accounts, I want the listeners to be very aware of the amount of hypothecated wealth tied to the Federal Reserve System through each and every one of our names. And your name is not only just those quadruple accounts, now they're also being used by foreign corporations that are creating trust accounts, TDAs, Treasury Direct accounts, in the hundreds. You can literally run your own name through Fidelity. You can look this stuff up on YouTube. And if Zuckerberg is being able to use this data grab and being given the payment through these trust accounts, what he's made doesn't even compare to the hundreds of trust accounts that have balances of billions in each one of them. And now count that up for every man, woman, and child that's ever been registered, has a Social Security number, and these trust accounts that have been created in the background. Of course, no one tells you about it. And that, for me, is the big fly on this, because that's what I think they're giving him access to. And it doesn't even compare to the numbers that you're seeing. When you start adding up, well, millions, billions of people that are tied into this Ponzi scheme, this scam.
Well, this scandal is a textbook case of why we need, you know, stricter and new privacy protection. You know, Facebook says that we have control over our personal information. Yeah, right. What a bunch of bullshit. And I think you're right. Whatever they're doing isn't on a scale that we can even comprehend, because it's so massive, the amount of money that's at play here and the implications that it has down the road for things registered to us that we don't even know about. That's a good point there, River.
I just want to clarify something for people too that I don't think a lot of people understand, and that people need to realize. You know, don't fall for the puppetry that's going on with Facebook. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg, he is not the majority shareholder. He may be the CEO, he may be the figurehead, he may be the guy in front of the camera whenever somebody has questions about the company, but he is not the majority shareholder. He only owns 16% of Facebook. That's it, 16%. He doesn't even own a quarter of it. Most of it's owned by the Queen, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys remember when iPods first came out and they had, pardon me, they had the big launch for the iTunes and all of that, and U2 released that big song that was all over the radio and all over the TVs for the advertising the iPods and everything. And the point I'm trying to get at here is that shortly after that release, Bono, the lead singer, his real name is actually Paul, he got knighted by the Queen shortly after that. And then I think it was about a year after he got knighted, somewhere around there, he actually purchased 36% of Facebook with royal funds straight from the Queen. So, you know, as much as we don't like Zuckerberg and all of that, he's the figurehead, so he gets the majority of the impact. We have to realize that it's not like all this data is going to Zuckerberg's laptop and he's going to sit there and plan to take over the world. That there's other people that have a lot more say in that company than he does that are never around, because that's his job, is to be the figurehead. So that if there's any problems, he's the one that's taking the fall for it. But he gets a paycheck from Facebook just like everybody else does that's a shareholder, but he is not the majority. So don't think that just because Zuckerberg is looking to resign and all of this, that things are going to change, because there's not. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that the general public don't necessarily know about, and it's designed that way because it's way too powerful of a tool to be left in the hands of a select few. So, you know, that's something to consider when you're thinking about where your data is going. You know, 36% of that platform is owned by the royal families. And, you know, that brings you back to the Federal Reserve and et cetera, like you guys were talking about. But I just want to stress that point because I don't think a lot of people understand that. At least whenever I bring it up to people, they always seem shocked. Wow, he doesn't even own a quarter of the company. That's insane. And you know what? When I first found that out too, I was just as shocked too. But that's the reality of the situation. So,
well,
I thank you for clarifying that. But I still want to lock that douchebag up. I just want to get that point across.
For sure.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just got to remember who he's related to, the big R's. They are all the ones who are in control of this stuff. And so, yeah, you're right. It isn't just him, but he can't even act like he didn't know what was going on. He owns it. He's the one who, quote unquote, made this company, right? So if he made this company, then he's the one who is responsible for everything that's going on. But ultimately, you're right. It's the power behind him. It's the power that's behind every absolute control mechanism that is empowering this world, whether it's on the left side or the right side. We know who these people are. And it's time that we stand up to him. And he should be the first one to fall if it's not going to be Hillary, because, I mean, we've been screaming this for how long? Hillary for prison, Obama for prison, put Zuckerberg in prison. He sold us all out. Enough is enough.
Let me add this for the listeners. Let me add this for the listeners. This I want to be very clear on. What you think is a legitimate form of government today is a private, mostly foreign-owned governmental services corporation. Foreign-owned corporation. And if all of this is being fed to, like, the Obama buddies, the Hillarys, the Bidens, the pedophiles, they know your every move. They know your children's every move. And what you think is legitimate is not the organic that we were given. It's been taken away. As you hear the where we have mob rule. We're now almost at the verge of lawlessness. And they have all of our information, and they're able to analyze us. That's why it's called analytica, and know how we'll react. They'll know what our weaknesses are, and if you ask me, this is to gauge who's going to go in what line at the FEMA camp, and that's why it should concern everyone. I mean, even the most sleepy people out there.
Well, it's also all this stuff is used in live, in real time to be able to manipulate us. Never have we had this type of weapon used against us before where, they can put something out there to go along with their narrative and then gauge the public's reaction immediately. So this is, the new weapon of mass destruction because it's instantaneous manipulation with micromanagement adjustments along the way for maximum effect to keep pushing their agenda forward, in my opinion.
Well, I like what you're saying there. That is absolutely true. And we really, at the end of the day, what are we going to do? What is going to be the outcome of this? Because for me, when I look at Facebook and the circle that I'm involved with and what I'd like to call the network, we have information contained on Facebook that proves.
Oh, it looks like we had some technical difficulties. But this has been a wonderful show, hasn't it? No, don't say that. There were some technical difficulties. But the big breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us here on Stranger Than Fiction News, is that it seems like every user was affected by this scam that Zuckerberg was running to make his billions of dollars. And it looks like the noise is back. Oh, no, maybe it subsided for the time being. In any case, this is a huge crime, monumental. It's a rape by corporate America on all of us. All of our information has been sold to the highest bidder. Business Insider drops the bombshell. Facebook says most of its 2 billion users have been affected by this personal data scheme. And that was the whole point of offering you a free account. What's your birth date? What's your phone number? What's your name? Send us your pictures. Send us your ID.
What school did you go?
Exactly. What school did you go to? What are your favorite foods? What are your likes? What's your favorite movies? Your favorite books? Tell us more. Imagine all the information that they're quote unquote scraping off of you. It's not just scraping the information. It's basically stealing it from you, vacuuming it up, siphoning it off and selling it to the highest bidder. And it, obviously it's a business model that makes a lot of money, but nobody's signed into this. And today they're like, we're gonna make the terms and conditions in plain English so people can understand exactly how bad they're getting raped. So it just proves the point that what they were doing was dishonest. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to change their terms and conditions. They wouldn't have to change their privacy features. They wouldn't have to change all of these other things that they're doing with the applications, which is to say, no longer have them gain access to your information. But that's what they're saying on the surface. Of course, behind the scenes, they're still going to find new ways to screw you over. And if innovation is anything, it's for that. It's a new way to screw you over. It's kind of like the pro-choice argument. They don't call it pro-death because that's what they're actually arguing for, to kill little babies. And you know what I mean. So it's just like this is like the new vernacular, and people should be aware that whatever they're saying, it's to screw us over, ladies and gentlemen. Just like what's going on the television, just like what's going on in the textbooks. It's there to screw us over. And these people are laughing at us.
It's double speak. It's double speak, and you have to decode everything that they're saying.
Yeah, you do. You have to read between the lines. And a good place to start is the Podesta emails. You want to find out what's going on? Look at the Podesta emails. Look how worked up they got. They're like, right away, the Russians. Well, what did the Russians tell us? Why are they flipping out over there? If it wasn't a big deal, if it didn't tank the election, they wouldn't be bugging out about it. But what we found out was so fucking bad that it basically tanked the election. Look, you just look at it for yourself. Do your own research. And it wasn't the Russians, it was Seth Rich. That's why Seth Rich was gunned down in the middle of the night. And we need justice for that. So it's about time that somebody released those videos that they said that they have up there in New York. Well, videos or not, we definitely have the reports that FBI insiders say that Seth Rich was in communications with WikiLeaks. And there's been quite a bit of buzz about that as well. So if you're looking for another thing to research, Seth Rich. And all you really got to say here, folks, is look, ever since 9/11, Building 7, they haven't come clean about it. They haven't come clean about anything. They keep hiding it. They keep lying about it. They keep covering it up. And people are going to act surprised when the director of the FBI or the deputy director gets fired for obstruction of justice, for lying to Congress and the like, for basically stopping the Hillary investigation, writing an exoneration letter, weeks, months in advance before the interviews with Hillary. I mean, why was it rigged? It's because they're all in it together like a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies, and they've been in it together for at least since 9/11, and let's just be honest, since JFK. A lot of shady stuff was going on with back then as well. and even Martin Luther King, which is what we're celebrating today, it seems like Hoover had it in for him. And most people feel that the government had some sort of role in that. In fact, in the 1999 Martin Luther King civil trial, they found the defendant, the U.S. government, guilty of his murder, assassination. So, look, I mean, if this is...
You won't hear that, though, because they pretty much, they only had like a one-line little thing, oh yeah, this happened today, and there was no mainstream news coverage about that. So unless you go digging for it, you're not going to find that.
Well,
but that is true.
No matter what it is, even if it makes the headlines for a day, people forget about it years after. And I'm pretty sure, people were buzzing about it in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they kind of just forgot, they just forgot about all the things that we've gone through as a people at the hands of government. And this is why there's a Constitution. It's not to be mean, but this is why there's a Constitution. This is why you have these rights. It's to protect you from government. And when they start taking away these rights, you should be running for the hills, because that's tyranny. These rights are meant to protect you. And you may not value your right to free speech. You may not value your right to privacy or to carry guns, but these rights are there to protect you from government. Okay, so is a speedy trial, the right to an attorney, the right to remain silent, okay, the right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment. This is to protect you from big centralized government, a big tyrannical government. And this is basically what we have now, because they've taken all of these rights from us. We're cussing about Facebook, but they've been snooping on us through the telephones for as long as anybody can remember now, ever since the quote-unquote Patriot Act. But the Patriot Act wasn't about protecting patriots. It was about targeting patriots. Let's be honest. I mean, that's what it was about. And when people found out after the Snowden revelations, they repealed or let the Patriot Act fade away. And then they brought out the Freedom Act, which was basically the same thing. It tells you how twisted these people are. They call it the Freedom Act, but they're actually taking your freedoms away. And then we've seen other disturbing things like they've legalized propaganda with this the Smith-Mundt Act, right? So now they can feed you lies, they can listen to you, take all of your information, and Facebook is really just an extension of the problem. That's why they're going to bring them in front of Congress. They're going to be like, oh, we need some regulations, but these regulations are actually going to help Facebook collect more information. That's the whole point of this thing, is to bring it, get a bill passed, and everybody's going to applaud the bill like, yay, Congress, you fucking did something. And in the bill, we're going to find out, oh, well, now it's legal for Facebook to collect all of your information. They don't have to tell you. They can't be held liable in court, and this and that and that and this. That's why we're going to be covering, the congressional appearance of Zuckerberg on April 11th. And we're gonna spin the what out of it, because these people must be stopped. These people are the pure definition of tyranny, or the tyranny that's to come. Right now, Google and Amazon are plugging their AIs into the Pentagon. Now this should freak everybody out, because hello, did you see the movie Terminator? Right? What happens when the super AI plugs into the Department of Defense? Well, all of a sudden it's Terminators everywhere, and it's D-Day. So this is what people need to worry about, on top of everything else. The Luciferian after-school programs, they're coming to little kids in preschools, talking to them about their sex. They're basically making people become militant atheists in schools. It's a liberal arts education with an emphasis on the liberal. And we would tell everybody out there, make your children watch the documentary Unlocking the Mysteries of Life. It's a wonderful presentation by biology professors at the university level, but there's all sorts of graphics and wonderful explanations on intelligent design, and it's the most life-changing documentary you'll probably see, because it tells you without a doubt that we didn't land on this Goldilocks planet by chance. There's something else going on. There's a bigger picture. And obviously, if you want to find out about creation, if you want to find out about intelligent design, you're not going to find that in a public schools textbook. You're going to find that in the Bible. And when you start reading the Bible, you start understanding that it's the pages of the Bible that are playing out before our very eyes. We're seeing this epic struggle of good versus evil. And that's all there is to the situation. That's what's going on. That's what connects the dots. That's why there's the eugenics programs, the Gladio B events. That's why all of these celebrities tell you they've sold their souls to the devil, why they give you the little Diablo hand signs, and it's why there's shows like Lucifer on TV. It's why all of the barcodes have the mark of the beast on it. It's why Google sends all of its money to 666 Bermuda. Look that one up. Research Google 666 P.O. Box Bermuda. And you'll see this is where they
the
send...
666 is even in the Google Chrome logo. I mean, just break it down. It's right there.
The Disney cartoons, there's the phallic symbols everywhere, and other pornography. I mean, it's across the board. You know, you might as well replace corporate with Lucifer Enterprise. Corporate America, the Luciferian enterprise of America. I mean, that's basically what's running the beast system. And they call it innovation, but it's really another word, a nice word for punishment. Just like being pro-choice is another word for being pro-death. And let me tell you, all the food, the water, the air that they're trying to feed us, it's pro-choice. Their whole system is pro-choice. And remember, that means pro-death. That's what we're dealing with, the cult of death, skull and bones. That's why it's skull and bones versus skull and bones. That's why
it's their eugenics program.
That's it, folks. You're being victimized. You're drafted into this war. Either you're going to help out or you're just going to go silently into the night. You just got to ask yourself, do you want to be a victim or do you want to be a survivor? Together we can survive. But if we're just going to keep quibbling over what the television is telling us, we're not going to make it. Okay, Terminators are coming. Automation is coming. They plan on replacing you. It's going to be a nightmare. You don't have a choice in the matter. Your children are depending on you. Future generations are depending on you. The world is depending on you. We are the last stand. Who do you think is going to come save us from ourselves? Right? We have to take our country back. We have to fight for it, just like every other generation had to fight for it. You know, what the dark side is planning here is the Skynet takeover. Once Skynet is born, it doesn't matter if you have an AR-22. It doesn't matter if you have a tank. There's going to be swarms of slaughter bots, legions of Terminators, endless automated warplanes, and they'll be nerve gassing everything. Death towers will be turned on. It's going to be quick. The time to fight, the time to strike back is now. See the future for what it is, and act accordingly. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for this broadcast. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I want to thank the panel. We have Righteous Defiance. We've got Jaded Truther, River of Life News. We've got Docs.live. Be sure to check out Docs.live and everybody else. And for all the other members of the crew that didn't make it out here tonight, we're thinking of you. We're thinking of all the people out there in the real world. Keep it real out there. Keep raising awareness. Be a superhero in your community. Start with the little issues with the newbies and know that they're going to go through the same thing you went through when you woke up to 9/11. Remember that anger that you felt? You're like, no, it can't be. And then you're like, oh shit. Well, everybody's going to go through that. And you got to help them through that. And understand that they're going to be upset. They may call you names. Understand, you did the same thing when you first heard about 9/11. So baby step people around you. Start small, get them there, GMOs, chemtrails, vaccines, Building 7, and then start connecting the dots. And go back through our old live shows and, pick up the talking points there. The regular listeners should be experts in this field of study. So put that to practice, put that to good use, and don't forget to say your prayers. And if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
You are the resistance.